Does the music sound strikingly familiar? It was composed by this man called Johann Strauss Jr., and this piece of classical music is popularized by the film titled 2001: A Space Odyssey. Hi, I'm Stanley Ruiyang, and I'm going to talk about the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, a science fiction film written and directed by Stanley Kubrick in 1968. The film received 4 Academy nominations, and it is also recognized by American Film Institute as the greatest science fiction film of all time. 2001 is a film that contained 4 story arcs, each showing the relationship between human and technology, and how human as a species evolves throughout the film. What is interesting about this film is not only the use of classical music, but also the lack of dialogue and sound to create a realistic impression on what outer space will be like. As mentioned earlier, Stanley Kubrick used classical music in this film extensively. The slow floating movement of the spacecrafts in outer space, together with the classical waltz music, seems to be creating an impression of the machines dancing waltz in space. Not only that, the artificial intelligence computer HAL seems to have a very human-like computer voice. The manner of speech also adds to the effect of its human-like voice. One example would be this scene when the protagonist is trying to terminate HAL.
I know I've made some very poor decisions recently, but I can give you my complete assurance that my work will be back to normal. I've still got the greatest enthusiasm and confidence in the mission.
The panting sound of the protagonist, mixed together with HAL's voice, seems to not only represent the anxiety of the character, but also representing the fear of HAL, as HAL asks for forgiveness. There's a part where HAL started to sing a song titled Daisy before it gets shut down. This brilliant decision on making HAL sings gives us an impression that HAL is a living computer with consciousness and emotions. The HAL killing scene turns out to be a very emotional one instead of a violent one, due to the manipulation of sound. There were also sounds that seems like audio feedback being used in these scenes. Kubrick's decision of using audio feedback may have a subtext. Audio feedback is a result of the sound looping between an audio input and output as the sound is being amplified multiple times, causing a ear-piercing sound. And the use of audio feedback may suggest that humans' downfall are a result of their own actions. However, sound design is not the only element Kubrick uses to create the world in the film. Settings, costumes, actings, and makeup are utilized efficiently to create a convincing prehistoric world. The acting provides a lot of information about the apes, such as their lack of rationality and also their curiosity towards the surrounding, which will later lead them to discover the use of tools. The overall black and white monochrome color scheme of the film helps build the mood. For example, the white walls and floor tiles produce a dull and lifeless mood, at the same time also suggesting that the outer space is a dormant and silent world. The setting in outer space also puts mankind in a much bigger environment, hence for the first time creating the impression of human as being weak and small, as compared to human being the dominant species on Earth. Props like this signboard and the food may suggest that humans are just like babies in the world of outer space, having to learn the basic skills of survival all over again, like learning how to walk, how to eat, and how to use the toilet. During this scene, the pen floating in the foreground suggests that humans are starting to lose control of their tools. This scene serves as a setup, which will later pay off during the scene where HAL decided to disobey the 2 astronauts. The capsules that are keeping the other astronaut members alive looks very similar to the Egyptian mummy coffins. The similarity probably hints the death of those astronaut members that will happen during the later part of the film. HAL, being an advanced technological tool, is being terminated by the use of the simplest tool, seems to mirror and yet again emphasize the fact that humans are the cause of their own downfall. Nearing the ending of the film, the protagonist watches himself growing old and weak, forcing him to accept the fact that his death is inevitable. When he was seen eating on the table, he accidentally breaks the glass of water. Kubrick may be suggesting that the glass serves as a container and the liquid serves as the content, pretty much like how our body serves as the container to our soul. It seems like the monolith is the thing that sparks or incites the evolution, pushing human to another stage of evolution whenever it reveals itself to the characters. So what is the monolith exactly? My guess would be it being a device or an object, planted on Earth by extraterrestrials or higher beings, such as God, to help humans with their evolution. In conclusion, 2001: A Space Odyssey seems to be telling a story about human, the dominant species on Earth, are just like babies in outer space. The only thing that kept us alive is due to the technology we had created. The discovery of tools and technology sparks the evolution of mankind, and from there onwards, we depend on technology to evolve. However, we rely too much on technology that it almost replaced us, and soon, the battle between human and technology will take place. Human eventually wins the battle, but without technology, we are left in the outer space facing death. Death and mortality is the last challenge we have to face in order to evolve to the next stage. After the protagonist sees himself dying due to mortality, his human body is cast aside as he becomes a star child floating in the outer space, suggesting a new start of evolution for human beings. So, is Kubrick trying to warn us about the inevitable death of humanity, and we have to accept it in order to transcend and move forward? Is he also trying to warn us that our over-reliance on technology serves as an obstacle to our evolution? Well, it's up to you to decide.